The Piaget Polo S, one watch that is shrugged off by many, mainly because of the stigma it has gained for being an example of how not to mirror more successful watches from other major brands. But I'd like to approach the discussion with a designer's perspective and hone in on whether it deserves the criticism, then look at whether some of its elements can be remedied to improve the watch's presence more along the lines of Piaget's design language. The name of Piaget is very powerful, and a company that has a long tenure as wristwatch manufacturers, originally established in 1874. I would liken them to Jaeger-LeCoultre, who at the time were also contributors to supplying components and movements to watch manufacturers in France and England. Then, taking what they had learned from the likes of Breguet and others, they began manufacturing their own in-house pocket watches, and eventually wristwatches. But the real breakout for the name occurred in 1957, when Piaget, a now registered name in the industry, revealed their ultra-thin manual-wind 9P caliber. Then in 1960, they introduced the 12P caliber, an ingenious automatic movement with a micro-rotor that allowed them to produce the thinnest automatic wristwatch in the world. In between all of this, Piaget established themselves as jewelers, and to this day are renowned for their pieces. But it was in the time of the 50s and 60s that Piaget truly arrived and established themselves as a brand that was willing to be both adventurous and creative with their products. And as the founder Georges-Édouard Piaget used to say in passing, always do better than necessary. Remember that phrase for later. The name reached absolute heights during the 70s, creating a culture for themselves, receiving high praise and forming relationships with monumental collaborators like Salvador Dali and Andy Warhol. Then in 1979, the Piaget Polo line of watches were born, beautifully crafted, elegantly presented as highly tasteful pieces of jewelry for men and women. These pieces were of course knockouts during the time, and even nowadays we see them as radical pieces of design, distinctly 70s, but bold nonetheless. Today Piaget are renowned for their jewelry, but also their efforts of integrating jewelry into their watches. They still hold the record of producing some of the most thin dress watches imaginable, like the Altiplano Thin, a watch that is measured to fall into the category of 3 millimeters in thickness. That is literally on par with the thickness of a coin. So without a doubt, they are watchmakers with an excellent reputation, creating watches that are pieces of art. There is nothing wrong with their dress watch line in the slightest. Anyone should be proud to aspire to or to own one of these pieces. They are phenomenal examples of restraint. Then there was a spark, a thought that the Polo S line should be revitalized. And boy oh boy, let's just say that a large majority of the audience weren't too pleased with the result. Here is the reality. In front of you we have 4 major players in the industry: Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin and IWC. More importantly, all 4 of the watches are made of steel and are all inspired designs from the 70s. Interestingly, brought out during the same time period when the Piaget Polo was established. All of these watches share the same DNA, and now I'll briefly walk you through them. This watch started the trend. This watch is the OG, the grandfather. If it wasn't for the influence of this watch, the steel watch would never have become a luxury product. Audemars Piguet wanted to create a piece of modern design that would celebrate steel as a material, and so hired an acclaimed jewelry designer to make it so. He spent a week sketching out the concept, being inspired by a purely industrial aesthetic. Originally forming the idea of the bracelet and creating the case and the head after the fact, Gerald Genta produced the concept that was taken forward to become the Royal Oak, a watch that paid tribute to 8 ships of the Royal Navy built between the 1600s and the 1900s. But don't quote me on this. I believe it to be more of a myth surrounding the watch than anything design inspired. But regardless, the design of the case centered around a porthole aesthetic. And if not a popular selling watch, it was striking when it was unveiled. And soon after, the public adapted to the design. It went on to make a name for Audemars Piguet, and has since become an icon and basically a flagship watch for the brand. Then after its glowing success, Patek Philippe wanted to join the party, and so Genta was given the task again. This time he created the design in 5 minutes, and after months of development, the Nautilus came into being. Designed to be more elegant and refine the concept of a luxury sports watch, the Nautilus used organic forms over hard, rigid surfaces. The biggest selling point was the way the porthole design was made to compress when it was under pressure, increasing the watch's resistance to water. It was so dramatic when it was unveiled, and the public grew to love it. The watch now is seen as an icon, and some believe it to be a purer expression of Genta's design impressions. Then IWC wanted a piece of the pie and asked Genter to create a similar concept for them, this time creating a piece with a Faraday cage inside to protect the movement from harsh levels of magnetism. Thus the IWC Ingenieur came into being, and has since remained faithful to its original design intention. In between this time, Vacheron Constantin jumped on board with the 222, a watch that is now seen as a classic, and over the years the watch formed the foundation for the Overseas line. That too has seen great success over 3 generations of its build. This piece takes a similar inspiration from the above pieces, but introduces the concept of the Maltese cross in interesting ways throughout the case and the bracelet. It is a watch that I believe is not appreciated enough by the masses, and it will be covered in greater detail in an upcoming video. With all 4 of the watches briefly covered, it's not hard to see what they all share. They focus on steel as the hero material. Their designs are purely based on 70s motifs. There is a greater favour of brushed surfaces over polished surfaces on the material, but in saying that, the method of utilising polishing has been masterfully done. Each watch has a style of its own, and that distinctiveness makes them desirable from one another. Looking at the Royal Oak, what drives me and others to appreciate it is its brutality, the fact that every edge is sharp and distinct, and of all the watches in the lineup, this watch treats steel the best, at least in my opinion. The result of arranging the bracelet the way it has been makes it so visually interesting, and it plays with the light unlike anything else. The Nautilus, a watch that is a lot more toned down, appeals to people because of its simplicity. It could be worn with any outfit and would suit it. There is never a time when it would be out of place. And looking at the Ingenieur, it is another watch that has a distinct design language that even to this day makes the piece look like it belongs on the wrist of a professional who is working in an aggressive job. Now the Vacheron is an exception of the case, and a very good case study in this discussion, because I believe it to be a redesign done right. The team responsible for handling this watch understood the meaning of core design language, but also used original reference material to harken back to the design of the 222. To me, the final result visually has cues that link it to both the Nautilus and the Royal Oak. It is aggressive, but still toned down, and the bezel is a masterful piece of design that ties in neatly with the way the bracelet is arranged and integrated. As a result, the watch is distinct and unique, but also has that touch of a 70s motif, making it a modern watch that sits comfortably with the other 3. Now joining the fray is the Piaget Polo, and here's the thing, if it is not blatantly obvious already, the Piaget just doesn't fit well into this group of 5. When it was released, most of us, including professionals, saw it as something unlike the others, but was trying to be a watch that reflected the same elements of the 70s. Something about it doesn't sit right, so let's discuss that now. After talking through Piaget's accomplishments, the movements they have made, the way they have integrated themselves into the 70s, and now create such fine dress watches and still continue to innovate in this space, there is no better way to say that this example of the Polo S is lazy. It is mediocre. Nothing about it blends well into the next. The brushing and polishing seems to be arbitrary. The case and bracelet proportions are all over the place. It, to me, is a poor representation of what a brand like Piaget can produce. But what is sad most of all is that there are glimmers of an amazing watch in here somewhere, and I hope to talk through that and bring some ideas forward. And just referring back to what Piaget's founding fathers said all those centuries ago, always do better than necessary. Well, Georges, this watch ashamedly is par. How do you recreate a classic? You stay true to the designs of the past. It is not rocket science. We see it in all of the successful pieces I've shown you already, and Piaget has an enormous catalogue of pieces to reference. But again, this is what irks me, because like Vacheron and the Overseas, the brand had an opportunity to create an entirely new line of steel pieces. So they had free rein to create whatever they wanted, and this was the final result. What I have learned while writing this article is that there are 3 motifs that Piaget prides themselves on when it comes to watch design. The first is a simple dial. I would say that this is one of their leading ideas that other brands do not or cannot replicate. The next is that they favour round dial aesthetics and have become very good at making them clear and balanced over the years. Again, a trait of theirs that is distinctly their own. And lastly, the way they handle their dials. There is such attention to detail in the way that they use the correct material to produce sunburst finishes and the like. So those are a few elements that should have been utilized with this piece. And for the most part, these elements have been. The Polo S has a rounded case, and I would imagine the inspiration was more along the lines of a pebble sitting comfortably on the wrist. The presence of the case is overpowering, giving the watch a great stance on the wrist, and this design fits their motif. It looks modern and traditional. The dial has been integrated into the case with an interesting cutout, mirroring the Nautilus to some extent. The hands of the numerals are quite interesting, and I appreciate the date integration at the 6 o'clock position, but they look plain. They don't look very inspired. For the most part, you could look at this watch and say that it has many elements that link it to the design of the 70s, but then you see how the bracelet has been integrated into the case, and how the bracelet itself looks to be something sourced online for a little over a few dollars. This is when the design appears disjointed. How could all of this be remedied? The answer is simple enough. Draw from the elements that have already been discussed. Of course, I'm not saying that this is the way it should go, but I feel like this language is more akin to Piaget and the pieces they are known for. Personally, I think that this watch should be more outlandish in the way that it handles its elements, but still keeping the watch sleek and elegant for any occasion. The core motif has always been to include vertical or horizontal lines through the dial, so that remains. The bezel for a start should play a bigger part in the equation, making that brushed surface really stand out and become the watch's defining feature. It looks a lot more like a piece from the 70s. Then the dial. The knockout dial that they have always been known for should take center stage with a gorgeous royal blue finish. But then the color could change to an emerald green, for example. And I have added some elements to the edges to make it look like it's been fitted using a different method. Keep the hands and the numerals plain, possibly adding lume and fattening them up, but the balance and proportions of these elements on this simple dial is perfect. To me, I see this as an example of what Piaget is known for: simplicity, elegance, and finesse. Now, with regards to the bracelet, it should be integrated and given a taper. Perhaps play around with more complex forms around the links. That cannot be difficult to do since they are leading jewelry manufacturers. The net result is what I believe ties this in with the rest of the pieces. A watch that is elegant enough to be a dress watch, but also one that would fit the sports watch aesthetic, and importantly, is offering something that none of the other pieces in the lineup have. I think that the introduction of the Polo S was premature, and personally, I do not see Piaget as a company for making sports watches, but that again could be taken over to Patek Philippe with the Nautilus and the Aquanaut, and Audemars Piguet with the Royal Oak. All of these makers were known as traditional watch manufacturers until the advent of the steel sports piece, and I feel, for this example, the Polo jumped the gun, which is unfortunate. But in saying that, it does not mean that this watch cannot be revitalized and pushed in a different direction that might completely turn the tables. Differentiating a product from the rest of the catalogue in such a competitive industry is hard, and it is admirable for a brand to attempt to bring out a line that competes against the likes of similar heavy hitters. In the case of the Polo S, the watch that resulted was not appreciated by the majority of the audience. Some might say that the watch is just a copy of other more successful pieces, and I, for the most part, agree. It does not feel integrated. The design, at least for my eye, does not bring anything exciting to the table that others already don't offer. Always do better than necessary. Always do better than necessary. Originality is hard to come by, but sometimes staying true to your roots says a lot more about the watch you're creating than the final product.